So I have my own segment here on the show. It's called Kingdom Link, or the Kingdom Relation, because me and Lewis are believers, and we like, how does this relate to the kingdom or like God's principles and stuff? Mm-hmm. Like some part of the show, anyways. It's not always the overarching theme or anything. So this time, I found it when they were talking about magic. It was mentioned about 2 or 3 times. Maybe it was more, but I didn't really pay attention. I only caught it twice. And that is the imagination and belief is what makes magic work.
James, oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that for real touched me on a deep level when she said that. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so in the kingdom, faith and belief makes miracles happen. Like, you have to have that faith and that strong belief, and that's when miracles happen. So Siri, she's one of the oldest living beings in this world, even older than Frieren. Right. She's an elf as well, and the most powerful mage.
And they call her the living grimoire, because she basically knows pretty much every magic spell that ever existed.
Exactly. So they were taking this test to become a first class mage, and the third test she was just doing interviews, and it was like the first person she's talked to, she failed them, and that person asked why, and this is what she said. She said, "In the world of magic, that which can't be visualized cannot be." Mm-hmm. You know, so she basically failed the person because that person couldn't even imagine themselves being a first class mage.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
So she was like, "Well, if you can't even imagine it, you're not going to be it. So no."
Yeah. Right.
Lead you to that path. Like, you got to believe it first before you get there.
And I'm sure you were gonna bring up this other spot. The one that I'm thinking of is when they were in the dungeons and they were like fighting the doubles, you know. So in this dungeon part, so the dungeon kind of reaches into your, I don't know, being and creates doubles, like literal physical copies of you to send out and fight you and whoever's in the dungeon. And they have, of course, all the exact abilities and weaknesses and stuff. But so one of the proctors of the test decided to go down with them just to observe. And of course, she's strong AF. And the dungeon's like,
mage, yep.
Right. And the dungeon's like, all right, we're going to make a copy of her too. And so they're like, that's not fair. But one of the mages was like, they had run into this copy, and she's like, I can't even imagine myself defeating this. Like, this is impossible.
Yep.
Therefore, my magic is not going to work. And the way that they explained it, I was like, that actually makes sense. You know, it's like the power of imagination, but it's real. You know, that's what magic is.
That was that one who was looks like a lolly.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah, so she was just so nonchalant about it as well.
She was
explaining it to her other 2 people that was next to her. She was like, "Yep, I can only do it if I can imagine, so it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's over for me."
Right. But it was fitting
like
because
maybe we can I can trick her.
Right, for like, what did she say, like 15 seconds?
15 seconds. Yeah, that should be enough to create an opening for us to escape.
Right.
And then there was a discovery. She's like, "Oh, not even that."
Yeah, exactly. But
and so were you going to bring up the other part in the dungeon where there was a person who was the opposite of her?
Oh, yes. So there is a mage who, it was kind of, I think they kind of took a book from Hunter x Hunter, because this mage had killed somebody in the previous exam. One of the proctors themselves, this dude had this like impenetrable cloak, and like the test was if anybody could knock him back a step, that would pass.
Yep.
Of course, nobody could do it, and she just walks up and literally just slices this dude in half. And she has a conversation with one of the proctors later. She was like, I grew up around fabric, and my sister, or whoever, cutting fabric and stuff. I just visualized cutting fabric, and that was it. And I was like, what?
Yeah, because it's in your belief. So she had no doubt in her mind that she can cut fabric.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter what type of fabric it is. If it's coated with magic, it doesn't matter. So since she had that belief, she could cut it. And that, when she came up across that first class mage, this first class mage fights with her hair.
Mm-hmm.
And her hair is very strong and powerful. It moves like Medusa's snakes, but it extends and stuff. And she was like, oh, I can imagine I can defeat her.
Right.
Because I can cut her hair. Like, hair was cuttable.
Right, exactly. And because and it's also because of their abilities. So, you know, each mage has their own kind of innate ability, and that also plays into it. And so this particular mage was like, I know my ability can take down this first class mage because well, she runs on instinct. Everybody else kind of thinks about how to attack the next person, but she runs so purely on instinct. She didn't even think about it. She just was like, you know what? My body says I can do this, so I can do it. And she went and she killed this double of this first class mage, which should have been impossible. I just thought it was really clever, you know, how they can have a discrepancy and really extremely powerful opponents to one that's not as powerful, but hey, the underdog can still come out and it still makes sense, you know.
Yep, strong belief. So that's her magic, is anything that she believes that she can cut, she can cut.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, that's crazy. And so how that relates to the Bible, like what God says. So in Matthew 21:22 it says, and if you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer. And then 8:13, this was about the centurion who had a sick servant, and he was like, Lord, my servant is sick, heal him. And Jesus was like, all right, come on, let's go and do it. And then Syrian was like, you just say the word and he'll be healed. Like, I'm not even worthy for you to come back to my place.
Right. Yeah.
So then Jesus said to him, go your way, and as you have believed, so let it be done for you. And his servant was healed that same hour.
And low key, that kind of tells me that even Jesus was a little surprised. I can imagine when he said that, Jesus being like, "Oh, this dude gets it. Oh, okay, you right. It's done. Go your way. Don't worry about it." Yeah,
Jesus turned around to his disciples. The verse after, he was like, "I say to you, I have not seen faith as such, even among the children of Israel."
Yeah.
God's chosen people who did all those miracles for didn't even see faith in that. That includes Moses and stuff.
Right. Right.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then Matthew 9:18 and then 21-25. This was talking about two different miracles that happened at once, kind of. And this was the woman who was bleeding, and then the man who had a daughter that died. So it says, while he spoke these things to them, behold, a ruler came and worshipped him, saying, my daughter has just died, but come and lay your hand on her, and she will live. Like, it was like she might live, like she will live. And he said, for she said to herself, and so skipping ahead, while he was moving through the crowd to go to the ruler, the woman who had that bleeding for years and went everywhere, couldn't breathe, she said to herself, if only I may touch his garment, I shall be made well. And then we all know Jesus felt the power, so he turned to her like, who touched me and all that. And then he looked at her and he said, be of good cheer, daughter, your faith has made you well. And the woman was made well from that hour. And then when Jesus came to the ruler's house, he saw like the flute players in the noisy crowd, and they were wailing and all that, and he said to them, make room, for the girl is not dead but sleeping. They ridiculed him though, because they didn't believe or nothing. So he moved them out the way, and then he went and took her by the hand, and the girl rose. So the other time, the man's faith was like, if you say the word, my servant will be healed. And Jesus like, all right, go ahead, as you believe, it will be done. This man said, the ruler whose daughter died said, if you just lay your hands on her, she will raise up. And so he took her hand, and she arose, according to what the man's faith said.
Yeah.
And then the woman, according to her faith, if I just touch Jesus, not him touching me, I touch him.
Yeah.
Without his knowledge, I'll be made whole.
Yeah.
And she was made whole. And made well.
And see, what I'm even reading into that is, you talk about having that strong faith and that belief. I'm even seeing having a strong will. Just the will, like that woman just reaching out, saying, I'm going to take the initiative. I'm going to reach out. and I'm going to do and create an opportunity for me to get my healing and my blessing. And going back to Frieren, that's also part of it is will. The people that got denied for that first class mage, they didn't even, they got rejected for one reason or another for lack of will. And that's another thing that makes Fern so powerful. And the first time I see it kind of playing out is when Fern and Stark are going up against the first demons that we meet in the show. And you think they're like all powerful, but then Fern pretty easily destroys this dude and even takes him by surprise. And Fern is like, yeah, honestly, you're probably actually stronger than I am, but Frieren has taught me better than that. And she ends up kind of having her own will. And because she could have run, but I guess what I'm saying is, like, in their world, your imagination and your will is what powers the strength of your magic and how far you go in the magic world. So, and Fern has taken her, it is insane that she has just basic magic, but through sheer will over the years of training under Frieren, she is now like on course to be a stronger mage than Frieren herself. And so just that small thing of, hey, I'm going to take my own destiny into my own hands kind of mentality is also what that kind of connection I see there too.
Yeah, and you bringing that up remind me of how their will is being forged so strongly. Mm-hmm. And it's something that's very simple, but
right.
it's a consistent thing.
Yes.
Which is them suppressing their mana.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Like honing it, like suppressing it, honing it, and like making it like just rock solid. Yeah.
Yeah, and also so that they do it to hide how strong they are.
Right. Mm-hmm.
From the demons and stuff, so that they can kill them.
Yeah.
Because Flamme had taught that to Frieren, and she's like, you got to do it your whole life. So Frieren's been doing that her whole life. So it's one of those skills that it's painstakingly hard to master, and to a point where there's no fluctuations, or it's very hard to see the fluctuations. Mm-hmm. And she taught that to Fern as well, because Fern learned that discipline. Like that whole thing takes a whole strong will to maintain constantly.
Yeah, like it reminds me of who else kind of had a similar. There was somebody else in some shonen where they had to maintain an ability. Oh, I think I'm thinking of Demon Slayer. I think where the total concentration breathing. When they're like, okay, now you got to do this breathing 24/7 for the rest of your life, and he's like, oh.
Yeah. And then you know how hard he struggled with just learning how to do it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And they said that Frieren has it down so well because she's so old, but like it's literally impossible for a human to get to her level in their lifetime. So it's like Frieren uniquely has this ability to hide this vast amount of magical energy that she has. Yeah. and now, like you said, Fern has learned it now too. And so, which I thought was interesting that it's considered cowardly to fight that way. The demons are like, yeah, I got all this magical energy. You about to know that I'm the strongest in town. Yep. And Frieren said it's not even basically a concept to them to hide your magical energy. And Frieren's like, that's why I can defeat you.
Yep. But, that story's good though. It's one of those animes where I don't know if I'll watch it again, but there's certain episodes I'll probably watch again.
Right. Yeah, most definitely, because there's a lot of the show is that slice of life, kind of them just walking around doing stuff. I don't know how many episodes actually have action shots in them, but when they do, Lord have mercy, they are phenomenal.
I'll give it a solid 9.5.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I would agree. I know you have to go, but just real quick, another kingdom principle that I kind of saw was, Jesus was a servant of the people, and he just went around washing people's feet and just doing things. That's how he was a hero for the most part. Of course, we hear the big stories about the miracles and stuff. That's Frieren's version of her, killing a monster in 5 seconds or whatever she does. But for the most part, she was like, And she said that she didn't really understand, why are we doing all this basic stuff? Why are we like fixing up people's homes or like helping them plant gardens or doing whatever, like real basic stuff? Like, this is meaningless, she even said. And Himmel and the rest of the party was like, it's not meaningless. This is helping people's lives. Like, this is what we do as heroes. Like, this is our job. And I was, and then from then on, that's also what Frieren started to do. She's like, I don't normally do this, but, and even with the new party, she was like, no, I'm gonna just keep going. And they're like, Frieren, we kind of have to help these people because they're in trouble. Yeah. And she's like, oh, all right, fine. That's what Himmel would do. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I appreciated that, them showing that a real hero is somebody who's for the people and actually makes connections with the people who are there. It really touched me that in one scene, she was talking to this old dude in this village. She's like, I recognize that hat. Like, I've seen this hat somewhere. You're that little boy that lifted up my skirt all them decades ago. And I'm like, dang, she has that good of a memory that she recognizes this dude from his hat.
Yeah.
From like decades ago. I'm like, that's kind of touching to me that she is starting to remember details about people and, and her helping them and stuff. So that was a principle of mine that really resonated with me. So, but yeah. Well, that's all I think I have to say about Frieren. But yeah, I would definitely recommend. The show really kind of took me by surprise, and I ended up really, really liking it. Just for it's stylistic, its style and stuff. And it wasn't cliche. There was a lot of moments where I just assumed it was going to be cliche, but they went a different direction, and I really enjoyed that. But I guess I was